Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have 8 all new Dollar Tree DIYs to share with you. These are going to be perfect for spring and Easter. They're super easy to recreate and really fun. And I even have a free printable for you guys, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But before we get started, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing down below. And be sure to turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new video. This first DIY is one of my favorites from this video, and all you need to get started are 2 of these wood bunny heads from the Dollar Tree. These were really cute and I could not wait to DIY them. So to start off, I'm just going to be taking my favorite chalk paint. I'll leave it linked down below in the description box. It's just from Amazon, but I absolutely love it. And I'm going to be painting just the top portion of these bunnies. So we're going to leave those sides completely exposed. And now we're going to add a little bit of detail. So to make the pink color here, I just mixed some dark pink with that same white chalk paint just to get a nice matte color. And I'm just going to go in and paint some ovals just to add some details to the ears. And then I'm also going to be painting a little triangle for the nose. Now I'm just going to let these dry completely, and then I'm going to be using a fine tip marker to create the last details. So you can absolutely paint this, but it is a little bit tricky for me personally to add those really fine details with a paintbrush. So a marker comes in really handy. If I can find this marker, I'll leave it linked down below. I believe it is just from Michael's. So I just added some curves for the eyes and then some whiskers, and then I'm just going to add a little mouth coming down from the nose. And I am going to be creating a little boy bunny as well as a girl bunny. So for the girl bunny, I just recreated the same exact face, but I did give her some eyelashes. Now for the final step, I'm going to be adding in some of this carrot ribbon from the Dollar Tree. You guys might remember this ribbon from my last video. I absolutely fell in love with it, and I did go ahead and pick up another roll of it. So for the boy bunny, I just took a nice long piece of ribbon, I tied it into a bow, and then I just hot glued it right by his neck, and now I'm just going to be trimming those edges. And then for the girl bunny, I just cut a nice long piece again and decided to tie it around one of her ears into a bow. And that is going to be it for this first DIY. Really simple, but how cute is this pair of bunnies? I absolutely love them. For this next DIY, I'm going to be starting with this box that I found in the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to be using some of these wood bunny ornaments from the Dollar Tree. So these ones come in a pack of 8. I'm just going to be using 4 today. I usually have these boxes in the Crafter Square year round, and sometimes you will see a different image on the front. This one just has a llama. The image doesn't really matter because I'm actually not going to be using the top of this box at all. So I'm going to be making a floral box, and you could reuse the lid and just kind of put it underneath and even hot glue it to it if you wanted to give your box a nice base, but I opted to just not use it. So I'm going to go ahead and just spray paint my box first with this white spray paint. You could just paint it with some white acrylic paint or white chalk paint, but I do love how quick and easy spray paint is. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a coat. And while that's drying, I'm just going to prep my bunnies. So to do that, I want to fill in the hole on the top of the bunny. And it's really easy. All you have to do is just get some lightweight spackling from the Dollar Tree, take a little bit on your finger, and just fill in that hole. Then you want to just wait till it is completely dry, and then take a sanding block and just sand it smooth. Now that I have all 4 of my bunnies prepped, I'm going to go ahead and spray paint them with this French lilac color. You might remember this one from some of my previous videos. This is one of my favorite colors to use for spring. It is just so beautiful, and I will leave it linked down below. I usually pick this one up at Walmart. And here is how everything turned out once I had it spray painted and dry. So now I'm going to get started on assembling my box. And to do that, I'm just going to be taking my bunnies here and hot gluing 1 to each side of the box. So you'll see that they actually fit perfectly from tail to nose there. So I was really happy about that. I was a little worried they might be a little bit too big, but in the end, it definitely worked out great. And now I just want to add one of these foam floral blocks to the center. So you can usually find this in the floral department at the Dollar Tree. So they come in a pack of 4 and one of them fits really good inside this box here. So I just added a little bit of hot glue. And now the last step is just to add a flower of your choice. Dollar Tree has so many beautiful flowers to choose from for the spring. I decided to go with these pink daisies. And now I just had to measure how long I wanted them to be. So I like to start my cutoff with my scissors just to kind of break the plastic portion. And then if you just bend it back and forth, it will break that wire really easily. So now I'm just going to be adding all 6 of my daisies to my box. And that is it for this DIY, and here is a closer look on how it turned out. I think this one would look so beautiful with some faux tulips as well. Next up is going to be a 1-minute DIY. So I'm going to be starting off with this frame from the Dollar Tree. You can usually find this one either in the decor department or sometimes by the other photo frames. They kind of move it around a little bit depending on the store, but I really love this one for the price. So once you have that, all you need is one of these free printables. So these are going to be on my blog. I will leave that link down below in the description box. So I have 4 different designs to choose from, and they're all kind of just themed around spring and Easter. So you're going to have the Hello Spring one on the top here, as well as this carrot one. Or I have a blue Easter egg hunt version, as well as a Hoppy Easter, which is just kind of funny and cute. So here is my blog. This is what it's going to look like when you click that link in the description box. You just want to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then it's going to say free printable. And if you just click on the highlighted portion, this will pop up and you can just print it at home on your computer. So I like to print mine on cardstock. It's just kind of sturdier, but you could get away with just printing it on regular computer paper as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just cut one of them out, and they are sized perfectly for this frame. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover up that image that says happily ever after. If you do print it out on computer paper, you might want to use the back of the cardboard so that image does not poke through. But I did print it on cardstock, so I had no issues with that. And here it is once it was framed. You can definitely hang this one up by that little handle, but it also does stand all on its own, so it makes this DIY perfect for a tiered tray. For this next DIY, I'm going to be using these craft eggs from the Dollar Tree. So you get 6 of these foam craft eggs in one pack, and I actually wish I had picked up 2 packs because I absolutely loved the finished result of this DIY. So we're actually going to be painting these today, but we are going to be using the baking soda painting method. So I have my baking soda here, and I actually did pick this up at the Dollar Tree. And then something else you're going to see me use are these foam floral blocks. So you do not need these for this DIY, but they do make the process a little bit easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to do that. So basically, these are just foam, so you can stick a toothpick into the bottom of them and then just use the foam floral block as a support, just to kind of help you stay a little bit more neat and organized while you are painting and letting your eggs dry. So now I'm going to be using 3 disposable cups because I'm going to be mixing 3 different colors. I'm only saying disposable because I don't want you to use something that you're going to be eating out of, but you can definitely just rinse these cups out when you're all done and use it for a future craft. You don't have to throw them away. So I like to start off with just a base acrylic white in each of the cups, and then I'm going to be adding in the color that I want my finished eggs to be. So I'm going to be adding some purple and then some pink and finally some yellow to my cups. And the last step is just to add in some baking soda. So I like to go in with just a little bit first. You can always add more if you want to basically make your consistency a little bit thicker or a bit grittier. So the consistency that I'm going for here is kind of like a toothpaste. So you'll see it's a little bit thick, kind of gritty, but it works really well. So if you use less baking soda, you're just going to have a bit more of a watery consistency, more similar to paint. So I'm just going to be painting my eggs here, and I did decide to do 2 coats on each egg, and here's how they turned out. So you'll see that my baking soda paint was a little bit more thick, so it does give you a really nice kind of stone look to your eggs. and it has a really nice texture to the overall appearance. Now I'm just going to remove those toothpicks, and that is it. You are done. So I just decided to add these to a bowl that I had created. This is an old Dollar Tree DIY actually, and I think that they turned out so pretty, so vibrant, and I just really enjoyed baking soda painting. So for this next DIY, I'm gonna get started with this large wood egg sign. So I actually want to turn this into more of just a decor piece and not a sign, so I want to fill in those holes. So to do that, I'm just using that same method that I used earlier. I just filled it in with some lightweight spackling from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to wait for it to dry and sand it smooth. And now I want to just give this entire carrot one coat of this white spray paint before I get started on painting the details. So for the raised portion of the carrot, which is the stem, I'm going to be mixing some of this white chalk paint with a dark green color. I just wanted to kind of have a sage green color and really have that matte appearance of chalk paint. And now I want to add in some orange stripes. So I did go ahead and just add a little bit of some orange to that same white chalk paint to create a bit of a lighter orange color. And now I'm going to be taking some painter's tape and just making some stripes along my carrot, and then I want to go ahead and just paint those exposed areas. Now I'm just going to let this dry completely, and then it is time for my absolute favorite part, which is removing that tape. This part is always so much fun, and you could definitely just stop here. If you wanted to just use this as a decor piece, you could just prop it up against some books or maybe in a display cabinet. Just put it against something and it will stand up, but I wanted to have the option to have it stand up all on its own without kind of leaning it against something. So a good option for that is just to add some supports in the back. So to do that, I'm just going to be using 2 of these wood cubes that I found at the Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square. And here is a closer look at the final result. I really love the look of the stripes on this carrot, and I think it gives it a fun and an unexpected look. For this next DIY, I'm going to be transforming these wood pieces from the Dollar Tree with some window clings. So the pieces I chose for this are this wood tray that I found in the Crafter Square, and then I also chose these 3 wooden eggs that I found in the crafting area for Easter at the Dollar Tree. And these are the window clings that I'm going to be using for this DIY. As soon as I saw these, I knew that I loved them and I wanted to use them in something. So these 2 larger ones here, the one that says Happy Easter and the truck, are going to be too large for these DIYs. So I'm going to either save them for a future DIY, or I just want to use them as window clings because they're so cute. But for the eggs, I'm actually going to use the 3 little chicks. And then for the tray, I decided to use just these little flowers here to kind of just give it a really fun spring look. So I'm going to get started on my eggs first, and these are similar to those egg bunny heads which we did earlier in the video. So I'm going to be using that same exact chalk paint and just painting them using the same method. A foam brush works really well for this, so I always have these on hand. You can find these in the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to be giving the top of the egg one coat of that white chalk paint and leaving the sides of the egg exposed with that natural wood. For the tray, I definitely could have just used that same white chalk paint. This would work just as well to cover this entire tray. But since this one was a little bit of an odd shape, I thought it might be easier to just spray paint it. So that is the option that I'm going to go for today. I'm just going to be using that same white spray paint that I used earlier in the video. This is one of my favorite spray paints. It's really user friendly. I love the matte look that it gives. So I'm just going to go ahead and give that tray one coat of that. So now while that tray is drying, I'm going to get started on my eggs. So I'm going to be using these 3 little chicks here, and before I kind of just set them permanently, I just wanted to make sure that they were going to fit, and they definitely fit nicely. So once I had them kind of laid out exactly where I wanted them, I grabbed my Mod Podge. You can find Mod Podge at the Dollar Tree. They usually have gloss as well as matte. This is the gloss version, and I just put some Mod Podge down on the egg first. That way the little chick window cling had something to stick onto, and then once I had it in place, I just put one coat of that Mod Podge on top of it just to seal it in place. And then I repeated that same process for my other eggs. So here they are once they were all dry, and I did want these to be able to stand up on their own. You could just prop these up against something as well, or just kind of lay them flat. But if you want them to stand up on their own, you can just add a little wood support in the back. So you can use either the tumbling tower blocks or these little wood cubes from the crafter square. So that's what I'm going to be using today. And all you have to do is just add some hot glue to the back. Next, I'm going to get started on my tray. So here it was after I had let it dry completely from that spray paint. And now I'm just going to be taking off the flowers from the window clings and just kind of placing them where I want them to be and just kind of moving them around until I had it just right. And now that I have them where I want them to be, I'm just going to go ahead, peel them up one at a time, add some Mod Podge underneath, and then just place them back down. And then once I had all of them glued down with the Mod Podge, I did do one final coat over everything to seal it in place. And here is a closer look on how everything turned out. For this next DIY, I'm going to be using these wood carrot ornaments from the Dollar Tree, as well as this wood oval that I found in the crafter square at the Dollar Tree. So when I saw it, I was just kind of drawn to it because it was a really nice piece of wood and I knew I wanted to create something with it. So to get started, I'm just going to be using that same spray paint as earlier and giving it one coat. While that is drying, I'm going to get started with my carrots and I have to prep them first. So like before, I do want to cover up that hole on top. So to do that, I'm just going to be doing the same exact method of just putting that lightweight spackling into the hole, letting it dry completely, and then just taking a sanding block to just sand it smooth. So once I had all three of my carrots fully smoothed and prepped, I'm just going to get started with painting. So to paint them, I just mixed that same white chalk paint that you guys have seen throughout this entire video with some orange paint. And the reason is I wanted to kind of just give it a really nice muted look and have that matte appearance of the white chalk paint. And this is a really great hack. So if you love the look of chalk paint, but you don't want to buy it in every color, you can just mix a little bit of acrylic paint in any color you like into some white chalk paint as your base, and it will give you that same appearance. Once I let my carrots dry, I decided just to add some really fun details with some dark brown paint and one of my foam brushes, and I just dipped just the edge in and just made some lines going across the carrot just to give it some definition. Now that everything is dry, I'm going to get started on assembling my sign. So this is how my oval turned out once I had it spray painted. And when I'm adding my carrots to my sign, I want to give them some dimension. So to do that, I'm going to be using 4 of these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So for 2 of my carrots, I'm just going to be hot gluing one of the blocks onto the back of it. And then for my third carrot, I actually stacked 2 of the tumbling towers together just to make this one a little bit taller since it's going to be the center carrot. Now to glue them to my sign, I'm just going to start off with my 2 side carrots. So those are the 2 pieces with just the 1 block glued on the back. And I'm just going to hot glue them to the 2 sides. And then for my third carrot, this is the tallest one with the 2 tumbling tower blocks on the back. I'm just going to be hot gluing that one in the center to really make it pop. And for the final step, I'm just going to be hot gluing 2 of these wood cubes onto the back just to act as supports so the sign can stand up all on its own. This sign is a pretty good size, but I do think it is small enough to still fit into many tier trays if you wanted to make this for a tier tray display. For this last DIY, I'm going to be using those same carrots from the Dollar Tree, the wood ornaments, and I'm going to be using 6 of them. So since I already showed you how I prepped these for the last craft, I'm going to kind of fast forward through it, but I'm just going to go ahead, fill in those holes with that lightweight spackling, let it dry, sand them down nice and smooth, and then just go ahead and paint them just like I did in the last DIY. Only thing that I did do differently is I decided to just use this fine-tipped dark brown marker for those definition lines on the carrot instead of painting them like I did in the last DIY. It does give it a slightly different look than the painted ones, but it is really quick and easy. And now I'm just going to be using some of the tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree to basically make these carrots 3D. So they're going to be able to stand up all on their own, and you're actually going to have 2 different options for these carrots. So it's going to make sense in a minute. But what I'm going to do is just hot glue one of those tumbling tower blocks into the center of my carrot. So I'm just going to put some hot glue onto one end. But when I do hot glue it, I want to make sure that I'm standing my carrot up. So I want to make sure that that green portion as well as the side of the carrot is flat against a surface. Then I'm going to hot glue my block to that carrot kind of towards the bottom so it's not directly in the center. And then I'm going to hot glue my second carrot to that one. You want to make sure you're standing it up when you do this. That way you know it's level and it will stand up all on its own. And then I just repeated that same process for my other carrots. And here they are. So you can use these just as a decor element, just like this. Or you can place a name card on that tumbling tower block in the center and use these for your Easter tablescape. Those are all the DIYs that I have for you guys today. I really hope that you enjoyed them. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing to my channel. You can subscribe to this channel by just clicking my picture right here, and be sure to check out this video for some more crafting fun.